That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I'm Sid Part 2, and I've got a pretty decent sized episode for you today, including the return of Trade Talk. I know it's been a while. I've been incredibly busy, but I had a 3-day weekend, so I had time to sit down and read a comic. Trade, rather. So that's good news. I've got my pun glasses at the ready. But yeah, we got a fair amount of stuff to talk about. Including, you know, I always got the Star Wars fans here. Trade this week, volume, what is it, 4? Yeah, 4 of Jason Aaron's Star Wars books. So look forward to that at the end of the show. Just decided right this second that it would be worthwhile to go through every week and tell you what we're going to be talking about. So the order, I'm going to have it in order. So we got the trade last, but we're going to talk about Secret Empire number... Oh, wait, no, we're not going to talk about it in that order. I do not have the order. We're going to talk about Sam Wilson, Captain America, number 22. We're going to talk about Secret Empire, number 3. We're going to talk about the Wonder Woman annual, the very first Wonder Woman annual for DC Rebirth. We're going to talk about the Trinity annual, the very first Trinity annual for DC Rebirth. We're going to talk about Bombshells, DC Comics Bombshells, number 27. So I hope that you are all looking forward to that. And I hope that we have a good time doing this. Oops, I need to reverse my book order. There's always something. Okay, so normally I go through and talk about the Rotlop fan audio drama. There's not much to say. We're still just working. We're recording, doing sound design, recording effects for that. I've more or less decided that I'm gonna post a video of myself doing a sound effect once I find the thing I need for the sound effect, because it's just gonna look really, really weird. So if you're interested in the Rotlop fan audio drama, just keep an eye on the channel. There will be a weird ass video posted. Anyway, normally I talk about what I read first, very last. Today I'm not doing that. This was actually the first book I read, but the last book I read directly follows the events of this in some ways, so I figured it makes sense. All right, so first issue is Sam Wilson, Captain America, number 22. And this was a little delayed. Like, it was coming out pretty frequently, and then when Secret Empire finally got going, it seemed like it had a bit of a gap. Red Leader is in the comments. Yes, Red, you are the only one here, and he asks, what collects Alan Moore's GL stories? I'm pretty sure they're all collected along with a lot of the other stuff he did in Alan Moore's DC universe. So check that out. But anyway, so yeah, this book is back, and we find out what Sam Wilson has been up to since the beginning of Secret Empire. Now, one of the things I really liked about this book, you know, throughout its run, even when I had problems with it, one thing that I thought was clever was the way it does the catch-up pages of, like, making it basically a Twitter feed. The conceit for that doesn't make any sense here. Just actively it doesn't work because Sam Wilson is in hiding. Or, I mean, if Cap knows where he is and stuff, then it just takes some of the believability of the story away, because Cap's kind of had a how to put this, a purge. There we go. That's the technical term. He's been purging superheroes. So you either have to join Hydra and be subject to his whim, or, you know, he gets the fuck rid of you. That's been like a thing that we've been doing, or that's been the general attitude. So this doesn't make a lot of sense for Sam to have an active Twitter profile. I don't know. He could maybe have changed it or something. Anyway, so this issue deals with what Sam's been up to. And in it, we find out after he quit being Captain America before Secret Empire started up, he just went out to the wilderness to try to collect his thoughts, be alone. And then he came back to civilization after it all had happened. And that's, I mean, it's kind of an interesting idea that he was just removed from this. And again, there are moments in this where I really feel like Spencer knows what he's doing. Literally just fleeting moments in this where I really feel like Spencer knows what he's doing. Sam's at a diner and they're just this one-page exchange. There are these two guys at the counter talking. One of them says, "Finally, you can get some real leadership in this country." You're telling me. I can't wait till the next time Thanos or whoever tries to come to this planet to make some trouble. Gonna run right smack into that shield. Oh yeah, Cap's gonna fix things right up. You watch. Already got rid of the muties. And Sam interrupts. Are you serious? You guys are aware this is Hydra, right? The fascist terrorist bad guys? Psh, yeah, that's what the media says, but look at it. Look at him. That's Captain America. I trust him a hell of a lot more than them. Yeah, and you see that warship factory they're building up by Albuquerque? If it gets me a job someplace besides back in that kitchen, I'll be saying Hail Hydra all day, every day. Amen, brother. And Sam leaves. That's a really good exchange. And again, if Secret Empire, if in some regards, Trump is Cap, Secret Empire is the new administration. The changes, like, I mean, there's no, it's not a one-to-one, but there's no subtlety. That's what it's trying to say politically. That is the commentary of this book. This is the Trump surrogates. It's like, I don't care what ideologies it's about. They're getting rid of the immigrants. They're getting rid of immigrants, mutants. They're getting rid of our problems. They're giving us jobs. I don't care. And that's the appeal of fascism. Spencer has understood on very many levels the appeal of fascism throughout this entire book. That's not been my problem. Consistently, that has been the best thing about his book, is this I'm Grady Childs in the comments points out, this whole comic sounds utterly stupid. This is such an unstable bashing of the Trump administration. Seriously, Hydra is Trump. This is worse than Red Skull is Trump. That was Spencer's book, the Red Skull is Trump. That was the beginning of this run. And again, this is like that interesting thing that comics do. And this like parallel, it's not one-to-one, but it's definitely not subtle. And that's what comics are good at not being subtle. It's meant to be kind of in your face. I mean, you know, when Green Lantern was accused of being a racist, they didn't do it with some alien accusing him of being a racist. It's one of the most political moments in comic book history. And it's just a black guy pointing at Green Lantern saying, "You're a racist." That's a thing that comic books just are. Comic books are not known for subtlety. If you want confirmation of that, here you go. And shit, I screwed up my order of that. Organizing stuff for Poll Party, you got a preview. But yeah, like comic books aren't known for their subtlety. Is it an unfair association? If I try to be objective about these things, I could say yes, but I kind of throw objectivity out the window when we talk about human suffering. On some level, when bad things happen to people, we can say, all right, well, yeah, that's really awful, but it's not this. You know, if someone gets mugged, we don't say, oh, at least you didn't get murdered. On some level, in the back of your head, you're like, yes, murder is worse than being beaten up and having your things stolen, but that doesn't help how you are feeling in the moment. And that's my kind of thing when it comes to suffering. And there is no denying that Trump's administration is causing suffering. Um, so no, it is an interesting thought process, and I'd never like to alienate people. I don't know what a Trump supporter is doing watching my videos, but I don't like to alienate people. I do like to try to understand where people are coming from, and I do understand that of, oh, well, you know, he's going to get us jobs, or they think at least he's going to get us jobs, he's going to fix, you know, we've been ignored. I understand where that side of things come from. I understand where that thought process comes from, but it's still just like there's a cost to all that, and that cost is what you are doing to people. Great Child's Red Skull is a literal Nazi. Trump has not done any ethnic cleansings and putting people in concentration camps. Fair enough, he hasn't done that yet. But there have actively been things done in this administration that are affecting people's lives and causing them to suffer. And again, comic books are not the place for subtlety. There's that's not completely fair. There are comics that are subtle, but there's just, on a fundamental level, this is what parallels are. This is what stories are for. I mean, you know, Reagan in Dark Knight Returns got referenced and parodied and skewered. This isn't anything new for comics, so I don't mind. I have no problem whatsoever, and I think it is consistently the strongest thing about this run in the way in which they are portraying or portraying the political climate right now. And again, it's not one-to-one. You're right. Trump has not opened concentration camps. I will fully concede that. There are no concentration camps in America. Look what's happening to prisons, though. I actively, you know, and I'm trying to be, you know, respectful and understanding, and I get people getting like, oh, you're exaggerating or overblowing things. I don't think I am. But anyway, comic books are metaphor. They're not the place for subtlety. So what Sam's been doing is helping people, Inhumans specifically. See, Red brings up a great point. I'm just going to read that and let that be the end of the parallels here. It is not one-to-one, but the point is to be right in your face about what could happen. They want to face this head on and be as unsubtle, because otherwise you accommodate fascism. Yeah, superheroes are not subtle. That's a much better point than comic books are not subtle. And again, you need the way to show that. I can pull up an image of Captain America punching Hitler in the face, published before the U.S. was in the war. Comic books are not the place for subtlety. Superheroes are not the place for subtlety. Anyway, so what Sam Wilson has been up to is helping Inhumans who are being put in concentration camps in this series, which again, I have a hard time getting past that with Cap. Inhumans are being put in concentration camps, and Sam Wilson is helping get them out of the country. He is helping to smuggle people out of the country. And he has these moments where he says things, and I do not know how I feel about this. I'm tempted to say that this is bad characterization, this is bad writing, this is not solution-oriented thinking. We're still, relatively speaking, early in the story being told here. But Sam's whole thing is, I'm trying to find where he's talking about it. Okay, it's in a conversation with Scott, where Scott tries to convince him to come and join the Hawkeye thing. Grady Childs, no, they're not, because mutants are hated, and mutants are actually exiled to their own little corner of the world. Inhumans are hated and feared, though, and so they're being put into concentration camps. They're not being mass executed, but they are being horrible. Actually, no, they are. There are horrific experiments being done on them. So it is a war crime, and I'm gonna have a really hard time ever forgiving Cap for that. People in political power are responsible for their underlings. That's I'll get to it when we get back to Secret Empire. I want to talk about Sam right now. So Scott Lang, right? Is that his name? Yeah. Scott Lang tries to get Sam to come with him to join up with Hawkeye. Tries to get Sam to join up with Hawkeye, and Sam doesn't want. He says no chance. He's like, these people need my help. The ones who have the good sense to get clear of this mess. I'll tell you the same thing I told Jacqueline when he joined up with them. The only thing Clint and Nat are going to succeed in is getting more people killed. The war's over. We lost. I don't know what's happened to Steve. Read Steve as America. But what am I going to do about it? I mean, come on. If Tony Stark and Amadeus Cho and all the other big brains can't fix, what the hell good am I? No, this is what the real Steve would want me to do. Save lives, worry about the people you can help. Because this whole we're going to win back the country thing, they don't want us. And if the truth of it is they never maybe did. That's a really interesting thought. That is again, read this as parallels. It's not hard to do. Sam is literally helping people get out of the country and doesn't think there's anything left to fight for, because obviously if the country wants Cap in power, then he has no right to change it. This is an interesting idea, because that sentiment pisses me the hell off for Sam Wilson to say, but having read Nick Spencer's run up to this point, I'm very much aware that Sam Wilson is in a very emotionally vulnerable state. He is going through a character arc and confronting problems. This very well could be good writing, because I am conflicted in that I hate this approach to him, but I can't help but feel like it's going somewhere. That's my problem. It's like, is this going to go somewhere? Is this going to work out? And I honestly have a hard time saying yes to that. I like, as I've read, I've been like giving Nick Spencer a lot of rope, even from the beginning. That like the for ending of the first arc of his Sam run was him cornering some businessmen that had been doing some shit that was like highly illegal and horrific, or at least funneling their money into it. And so he threatened to take them all to jail because they were clearly culpable. But they said, if you take us all to jail, our companies will collapse with us, and there will be thousands and thousands out of work. and Sam basically swallowed the pill and took one of them to jail, made the others buy up all stuff, keep all the jobs going. Because as bad as it would be to let them continue to live, and even if he's keeping a close eye on them, it'd be the effects on the everyday person would be worse. And so that was his argument, and it was bullshit. That was a bullshit political conclusion that at the time I was like, yeah, I get the argument he's making. That is fair enough. I'll see where this run goes. And I've continued to see where this run goes. And time again, Sam Wilson and by extension Steve Rogers have faced some really, really crazy, awful things. They've faced some just awful stuff and done awful things. And so I don't know if there's a character arc going or if there's just going to be an awful solution at the end of this, like there was at the end of the first arc. I'm at this point where I do not know if I can, on any level, trust Nick Spencer as a writer. I think he's effective at setting up a really interesting scenario that is, stakes. There are definitely stakes on the line. But I'm at this point, and yeah, I'm at this weird point with this book, and I really, really don't think it's going to end well. I really think that it's all going to hinge on the ending, and I have a feeling the ending's going to suck and be completely unworth all of this. And in the comments, they're talking about how stupid a solution that was, and yeah, I mean, it was a pretty stupid solution. Again, I was like, okay, it's not a good solution. It's a tough ass pill to swallow, but it seems like they're going somewhere with this, but they've never readdressed that. I don't know. I'm pretty underwhelmed by what's going on so far. All right, let's continue on talking about Spencer, because you just can't get enough of that, and transition to Secret Empire number 3. Okay, I don't care about how this starts. Actually, no, I take that back. I do care about how this starts. So the thing that pissed me off at the end of the last issue was Steve Rogers magically coming out of the woods and saving a woman. It appears that this is definitely getting a very dreamlike state, even down to the coloring. Like the coloring of the flashback sequences throughout the majority of Spencer's run was like this kind of murky, almost black and white with hints of red kind of stuff. And this has kind of an inverse of that. It's like a murky grays, a lot of blues and purples. And that's intriguing. So it looks like this is maybe some kind of internal Steve Rogers trying to reassert control of his body and wrestle it away from the Cosmic Cube. Don't care about this stuff at the beginning. It's Star-Lord asking for help from previous invaders of Earth to break the shield as the Chitauri continue to attack. It doesn't work, and the heroes floating around in space are almost like dead. Natasha goes to talk with Maria Hill to get access to Steve Rogers' social calendar so that she can plan an assassination. Maria Hill, in return, wants a photo of dead Cap so she can make it her smartphone screensaver. Natasha is also training her little team, which is Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Viv Vision, fucking can't even remember her name. Rosie, Black Girl, Iron Man. I don't even know who that is. And Jaquin and Wasp. I don't even know who that one is. Is that supposed to be Namor? It's hard to tell. Anyway. And then we get to the main action, which is at the end of the Sam Wilson book, Scott Lang and everybody showed up. Because that's where issue 2 of Secret Empire left off. So here we are at the beginning of Secret Empire, and Sam has agreed. Sam agrees to take them out of the country so they can go hunt down fragments of the Cosmic Cube. Also, Hydra is looking for fragments of the Cosmic Cube under Cap's direction. T'Challa has one, and Namor has a bunch of fakes. That, you know, he's kind of taunting Cap with. So Cap blows up an Atlantean temple. No, Grady Childs, Maria Hill definitely wants Dead Cap as her screensaver because of everything that he's done. And Maria Hill's got, how crazy is it? Maria Hill was right. there's something that you never thought you'd ever say. Maria Hill was right, and that's kind of the problem with the story. So anyway, Hydra Cap starts a war with Atlantis. Good plan there. One of the other cube fragments is with Ultron, who's like fused with Hank Pym. I don't remember that as a thing. I don't read a lot of current Marvel. But I want to get back to, okay, so like all that happens, it's whatever. And then we get back to this stuff with this like kind of dreamy quality where it doesn't quite look real. And it's about this idea of never giving up hope and all that stuff. So again, it seems like we have Cap reasserting himself through the programming or whatever. Philip Kelton says, "Are fascist solutions the way to fight fascism?" I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole. That's such a gross mischaracterization of things. It's hilarious. Anyway. So this idea of Steve trying to reassert himself and take back control or trying to get the real Steve back, which is what Hawkeye and everybody are off on a little mission to do. Meanwhile, Natasha and Maria Hill just want to kill him. Okay. Let's go over the itinerary of what Hydra Cap has done, okay? Locked heroes out of the planet and left them to die at the hands of the Chitauri waves after waves. Trapped all of New York in the dark dimension where they are being preyed upon by demons constantly. Taken over the country by seizing power and in manipulating lawful means of government, seizing power, and appointing just truly evil people to that government. Opened concentration camps across the country in which to house Inhumans, where we have seen medical experiments being carried out upon them against their will, as they're being forced to live under inhuman conditions, and leveled a major American metropolitan city, as well as silenced the press by locking up journalists. The only way Steve Rogers... Yeah, I made a pun about concentration camps. Ah, shit! I didn't wear the glasses while I did it. Shit. Oh no, you can make tons of puns about concentration camps. It's all in the tone of the joke. You can joke about anything. You just have to have the right tone for it. It's not a rule you should follow if you're not confident about it. Anyway, so all these things. The only way Steve Rogers is forgivable in this is if he isn't the one doing it. If it is a clone of Steve Rogers. I don't care about reality manipulation. No, even under those extraordinary circumstances, he is still culpable. He has ordered these things to happen. These have happened. People have died because of Steve Rogers. I don't care what the hell the answer is anymore. Like, everybody's off trying to find a way to bring back the real Steve. Like, even if the answer is that it's a clone or whatever, that's a really unsatisfying answer for a really, really heavy story that we do not need. Again, if this is allegory, which clearly is, the problems this country are facing are not problems because it's not really the country. That's an unsatisfying answer. It's not problems because, reality was manipulated. No, this happened under our watch, slowly and surely. We let this happen to ourselves. So those are not satisfying answers. That's why everything about this run now hinges upon the ending. There's so much allegory going on here, and you can't make the answer something that does not have some kind of allegorical similarity. So it's unsatisfying. But even beyond all that, I don't care. This character is irredeemable. This is beyond redemption. Oh, fuck you, Red. Oh, shit. No, don't. Ah, fuck. Red Leader Antilles asks, how would I fix it? Fucking shitballs. All right. How do we fix this? Because this is not something I've considered. I am giving Nick Spencer all the rope in the world with which to hang me. And I'm going to put the restriction on myself. It can't be anything just inherently ridiculous that literally just throws the story in the garbage. There is not going to be a Cap wakes up and realizes that was a really awful dream I had. None of that. None of that's happening. No General Hospitals up in here. How do we fix it? How do we meet the allegorical comparative? How do we give a satisfying character arc to Captain America in this? And how do we make him a character who we can continue to like once he's back to himself and still bears on some level responsibility for these actions? Okay, I want to finish the last one first because this is the one that is the most comic booky and that does not have an inherently immediate political allegory. The horrible actions committed by Steve Rogers and his regime as Captain Hydra. How do we solve that? There's a cosmic cube. We'll Dragon Ball Z it. We wish for everything to be back to normal the way it was, and for all the people that died not to have died. That one I'll give you, because the real world allegory is we reverse the steps taken. It does not solve the suffering. It does not wash away the suffering, but that is the real world allegory of Cap is Trump. So the actions Trump has taken, we reverse in real life once he is out of power. That is, won't erase the suffering that has been done. However, the real world allegory, the suffering in the objective sense, is not as horrific as the suffering Cap's caused. So, real world allegory of the horrific things Cap has done can be DBC. We wish this didn't happen reversed. Okay. How do we end this in a satisfying way? Knowing what I know right now, the real Cap is somehow trying to fight his way out of this. I'll give Spencer a lot of rope and give him the only out I can see as I'll give my only out as real Cap actually manages to merge and reject within himself the Hydrian, whatever that means, fascist ideology. And that there appear to be seeds of that. That's why, like, it's not wholly bad. You have to be reading this book to understand what is so frustrating about it. It's not just, oh, Captain America is a Nazi. It's not that flat and straightforward is the impressive thing. I was talking about, there's superheroes are not the place for subtlety. That only goes so far. There are, of course, subtle storytelling elements you can do. And there have been moments in this where Cap is, at least on some level, still Captain America underneath it all. He is, like, legitimately, from what he believes, trying to help people. He has yet to actively by himself commit a murder. It has been done by his subordinates. Of course, he is still responsible for the deaths of his regime, but we've already covered that with Cosmic Cube, make it go all away. So if Cap manages to reassert himself and reject the Hydrian ideology, that covers the other two. It covers Captain America's story arc, and it shows that at his deepest level, even no matter what you do to him, no matter how horrific, Captain America is still Captain America and can, be optimistic and be hopeful and come back and conquer anything. But it also solves the allegorical problem, which is all it takes to defeat a fascist ideology is to reject it and shrug it off and fight and fight and fight. Fight tooth and nail and just remove it. The big question that remains, if Spencer does all that, because again, there are seeds here. I'm working with just what I could brainstorm a satisfying on some level ending. That's just satisfying for me. There are people who will never be happy with this, and I totally get it. If that is the ending that Spencer is writing toward, if real Cap, if it doesn't take anyone out in the world, it's all just about real Cap fighting through himself, that could work. Maybe involve the other heroes, that's hard to tell. But if real Cap is able to assert himself and reject this fascist version, this horrific parody of himself, then you might actually have something that's wholly satisfying. Is that what is going to happen? I have no idea. I am giving him so much rope. It's ridiculous. Where's that? This is the amount of rope that I keep giving to Nick Spencer. This might be horribly offensive to some people, but I am legitimately tempted to, every week that a new Captain America book comes out, start actually tying a noose and seeing how it's gone. I'm not making that a joke about suicide. I am making that a joke about what it means or what it feels like I'm doing right now, because I feel like I am giving him all this rope, and what is he doing? He is making my fucking noose. Because I try so hard, because legitimately, and this is the thing that's very frustrating about this book, there is so much that is going on a subtextual level. There's a lot of like fundamentally just good structural writing in comics going on. There's good use of paneling. The flashback thing I mentioned, that's just fundamentally on a structural comic book level. That is good use of the medium. That's just on a structural level, that would be good use of the medium. I don't know, though, if I can give him that credit given the way he has ended stories. I don't know if he deserves that credit. And honestly, just sitting here trying to think of what the ending of this story could possibly be without without changing anything that's happened, I don't know if I can say that there's any other way to end it. That's the only way I can think of to end it. So here, Nick Spencer, here's all this rope. Please don't hang me with it. Because I am trying so hard to just let you tell your story and let you, if Nick Spencer is watching, I'm trying so hard to be there and not judge it just based on a thing. You can get away with anything as long as you can get away with it. That doesn't mean I get to write a story where Superman rapes someone and then at the end says, oh, I was mind controlled, so doesn't really count. Like, that's not getting away with, like, you really have to get away with it. And at this point, I just don't know if you can get away with it. And it all hinges on the end. And so here's your rope, Nick Spencer. Please, please don't hang me. All right. Let's see what Red says. Dr. Holocrud says, Ian, and what if it ends on a cliffhanger and never gets resolved? I will, on camera, if it ends on a cliffhanger, I will tear every issue of this in half. Yeah, and Red, you talked about Byrne actually did that, and then that means it's an awful Superman story. Okay, let's see here. Red was asking about something, and he pitched what his ending for this could be. Anyway, let's see here. Red says, maybe this is fake Cap is the guy who pretended to be him in the 60s and went crazy. That guy was already a fascist. Have it be about how fucked up America has become, because someone who say they love America but really does not get its ideals. In this way, it can still be a degradation of America as a symbol. That's an interesting idea. Again, it's just I don't like the out. That is not a satisfying out to me because it tarnishes the character. It is intellectually dishonest with you. I like the levels that you're talking about there, but that is just fundamentally intellectually dishonest. Anyway. So yeah, it's always so much fun talking talking about Nick Spencer's Captain America. It's just whew. Red, I really like that one. I think a good ending would be an issue of different artists Ryan Spencer getting kicked in the balls by Cap. You know, honestly, the best cover might just be Chris Evans, like a photo of Chris Evans punching Nick Spencer at this point. And I don't mean that, of course, as violence should be done against Nick Spencer, but that's how I feel as I'm just watching this. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I fear that the rope gag may have been a bit too dark. I'm not going to apologize for it. That is legitimately how I feel. Is I keep giving him all this rope, and I can't help but feel like he's tying the noose for me behind his back. Let's just take a moment and talk about some weird shit that happened to me in high school. Because I just need a minute to recover before I go on to would I ever do a Geeky Gentleman on Spencer's Run with Steve? Yeah, probably. I don't know if I'd ever reread it, but I could probably do a Geeky Gentleman on it. I could watch my reviews back and kind of see my emotional roller coaster with this book. But anyway, let's talk about a fun story. Or not fun, but talking about a noose reminded me of a story from when I was in high school. Oh, all right. So when I was in high school, I was kind of like not super into the punk or metal scene, but I had like that kind of fascination with like death kind of stuff, like death imagery. I drew skulls and Jolly Rogers all over stuff. I really liked that whole aesthetic. And I had a friend, and he'd gone to a field trip to the fort here in Fort Wayne. There's an actual fort. It's historically preserved and everything. And they went down to the basement where the not dungeon, the jail was. Brig. Is it called a brig on land? I don't think it's called a brig. Anyway, jail where they would keep, misbehaving soldiers. Anyway, you guys are correcting me up in the comments. Anyway, so like they took him to the jail and just showed him around. They actually had a noose. They had a gallows hanging, and he looked at it. My friend looked at it, and he was just one of those guys who could pick stuff like this up. He was able to actually figure out how to tie a noose just by looking at the knot, and he was showing me with a piece of string. It's like, oh yeah, what you do is this, this, this. And I'm like, holy shit, that's really interesting. And me being, metal, not really, but metal, death, yeah, cool. I was legitimately fascinated. I thought it just looked inherently badass. And that's the only thing I thought of when looking at a noose, because public education. But seriously, I was the only thing I'm like, oh, dude, make me one. I'll use it as like a keychain. So I'm dangling this around. I wanted to go show it to some other friends at lunch, and I dropped it in front of one of the teachers. Teacher was black, and he saw it, and he just immediately went pissed. And like, in retrospect, I understand that, but I still find this to be an interesting thing that kind of shows in a lot of ways the different levels of what happens when you call someone a racist. Because it is legitimately possible, I am living proof, to just be ignorant. And I do not think that ignorance is equal to racism. I think that the word racism is specifically designed for hatred, use of political power to enforce racial hatred. I do not feel like it is a fully proper term to call someone a racist who is just fundamentally ignorant of the thing. Because honestly, I looked at a noose and my head did not go straight to lynchings. It went to, like, when I look at a noose, when I looked at a noose in high school, the first place my head went, and often still does, to be honest, is The Crucible. It went to the play The Crucible by Arthur Miller, the one about hanging witches and all that stuff. I thought that's where my head was. And we can talk about, levels of education and stuff, but just interesting little side note. So I think there is a difference between being racist and being ignorant. But yeah, so he was really mad, and I ended up getting suspended for a day over the whole thing. Like, I ended up getting suspended for a day over the whole thing. And like, the major mitigating factor is one of my other friends, Phil, had one too. Phil's black, because he was in the same headspace as me. He thought it looked cool because death. And that's like a really just interesting story where we both ended up getting suspended for one day for quote unquote inciting, racist imagery. We're about to be expelled. But we just sat there in the office and talked, and there was like a kid, another student who was black, who got like really, really mad about it and stuff. And we just talked about it. I'm like, seriously, that was not at all on our minds when we made the thing. So, Dr. Hologron, I didn't explain this. It was like a little string. I wanted to use it as like a keychain. It was like about yay big. You could never literally ever kill anybody with it. Like you could maybe fit 2 fingers in it. So it's like the different levels of this. Though, Dr. Hologron, your point is still totally valid. I was a fucking idiot in high school. I just stuck a razor blade in my shoe at one point. I was fucking stupid as hell. Anyway, so I don't know. I thought I needed protection or whatever. I did get in more fights than I'm proud of in high school, but still, that was stupid of me. I'm not here to defend high school yet. He made bad decisions. He went to juvie for them. Anyway, my point being that this is always something I think of. This is why I do believe in giving someone the benefit of the doubt, and why I don't like to see people just jump to they're racist. Though, of course, there are lines. There are points where, okay, a history of behavior like that, or there are lines, there are mitigating factors. There's a whole spectrum of thing. It's not always just a go-to snap decision for me. Yeah. And there's like discussions here, and Red brings up the point. Nooses do go beyond lynching. There's a long history, and that was my thing. When I saw it, I thought, crucible. What's really funny about it is in my freshman year, this happened in, I think, my junior year. In my freshman year, our school put on the Crucible as a play, and our school always got the cast and crew t-shirts for every school play. Like they'd get screen printed t-shirts, and the t-shirt imagery had the Crucible with a noose in the background. So it's like, at no point ever did I just immediately associate the noose with lynchings. And importantly, we never really talked about lynchings in school. They never ever got brought up in school until that moment. And that's just weird. Like, we talked about like Jim Crow era and that blacks were persecuted before the civil rights movement. We never talked specifically about lynchings. So always just a weird story that I don't think I've ever told on the channel. And it is one of those things where there are layers where, like, in a way, from a certain perspective, even though the people at the school, who usually the school had terrible administration, but in this case, they were trying to do their jobs, which I think is that they did a reasonable job of. Someone like a student came to them upset about something that he felt was racially motivated, and they acted on it right away. They didn't try to sweep it under the rug, but they acted on it. Like, their immediate reaction was really, really strict until they let us actually talk. So they needed more mediation, but the school did act, which was something I was happy about. In retrospect, I'm glad that they acted on that. And yeah, I did need a fucking talking to at that point. I did need to have my eyes opened up about, yeah, I kind of fucked up. And so did Phil. And like, so when they saw that, oh, it's not, oh, this kid's actually not white, he's Hispanic, because I present white sometimes. He's not white, he's Hispanic, and oh, he also gave one to his friend who is black. Like, they obviously could tell it's at that point something had changed. So there were mitigating factors, and that's always the thing. But yeah, just interesting little story that helped gives you perspective, and kind of why I, just to rope this back, just to rope that back to Nick Spencer. That's why I'm trying not to jump the gun and just go, this is awful story. Nick Spencer doesn't know what he's doing. He's a racist. No, there's little bits and pieces where this could all work. It could. I understand people not thinking that it's worth the experience, but I do think that there is a way out of this, or that there's clearly some kind of plan, and whether or not the ending justifies what happened will be really interesting. So anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to Wonder Woman Annual #1. Oh my, it's getting dark. Whew, I'm getting hot, y'all. Anyway, so this is one of those annuals where it's a bunch of different stories. And I want to talk about one thing before I get into the annual itself. So I'm going to be talking about Trinity Annual #1. I find these covers hilarious. Honestly, the story in this probably should have been the story in this. Anyway. So Wonder Woman Annual #1 is one of those annuals where they tell a bunch of short stories, and I generally like those. This is just an okay issue, but the first story is the best story. It's Greg Ruka writing it, and it actually fits in at a point in his run. This is a series of scenes that takes place after Wonder Woman is revealed to the world, but before she just before the scene in the desert with Steve Trevor, where she's experimenting with all her new superpowers. And so what's happening is you have Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne finding out about Wonder Woman's superpowers, or Wonder Woman's existence at the same time. And they both do a little snooping, and show up in the desert to try to figure out what's going on with her. And I will say, Greg Ruka writes some really good Batman Superman dialogue. Put this man on a World's Finest book. He's really fun. So anyway, Batman and Superman come in to kind of spy on her, and she hasn't arrived yet, and they're like not sure what's gonna happen. Then Superman says, "Oh, this is gonna be awkward," and then she arrives. Lovely page, beautiful page. Liam Sharp, great art. That's just a really cool. It's, you know, on a comic book storytelling level, that's good use of the page turn. Oh, this is gonna be awkward. What? Wonder Woman. So that's good use of the page turn. There's also, this is just one of those tricks that I absolutely love in comics, where it's like it looks lazy, but it's just fun. And that's that we get these 3 panels where only thing that changes is Superman's head direction. I really like that. That's really fun. That's just one of those tricks I love in comic books, and it's used to great comedic effect, which is great. Always really love stuff like that. Anyway, so Wonder Woman shows up, and she's wondering why they're spying on her. This is at a point where she still doesn't speak English, so she holds out the lasso, and they both grab hold of it, and they have this really interesting conversation where she says, "You can tell everything about me. You can tell that I'm honest, that I'm not able to lie right now. You can see it in my heart. Do I pose a threat to you?" And Superman immediately says no. Batman looks at her dead on for a second, and he also says no. And she's like, "Okay, good. Now that you know I'm not a threat, please leave. I promise I'll come find you when I have more time later," basically. And she takes off to go do her training with Steve Trevor, figure out what her powers are. And then Superman and Batman have this great little exchange. Superman says, Bruce, wait. You felt what I felt, didn't you? She's the real deal. Yes. You think it's a trick? That she's lying? It wasn't a trick. Then why are you upset? We saw what was in her heart, and we saw what was in ours, Clark. We've got a lot of catching up to do. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. That was a cool-ass scene. Red Leader says, wait, is this 52 Superman? It's a hard question. I just don't even care. I just cannot force myself to give a fuck. I suppose this is new 52 Superman, being that this is Wonder Woman origin, and she in Trinity did acknowledge the fact that she did date new 52 Superman. So anyway, I guess this is supposed to be original New 52 Superman when Wonder Woman first showed up, even though he's not wearing the right costume. Don't do the mental gymnastics. It's not worth it. It's just a fun little scene. I honestly wish that had been the whole story, though. Just like her interactions with other superheroes on the Justice League for the first time. Or just the first like Trinity issue. Like I would like the first story in this, because that's the whole story, to be the Trinity annual. Because the Trinity annual is not bad. It's just a much more inherently more interesting story. Anyway, the other ones. All right, so we got like some kind of dictatorship country that's about to execute King Shark, and Wonder Woman shows up and saves the day and proves King Shark didn't commit the murders, and then sends King Shark off to go face true justice because of the crimes he committed against Aquaman. So she saves him from being executed for a crime he was framed of, but sends him to go face actual justice with Aquaman. Because I believe that given the chance, you are capable of goodness. And King Shark says, no promises, of course. Thank you. As he goes off in the water to see Aquaman. It's not a bad story. There's nothing wrong with this story. That is a very Wonder Woman ending. It's just a very inherently Wonder Woman ending. Okay. Cool story, bro. Then we have this other one called The Curse and the Honor, where Wonder Woman's fighting like some samurai guy, and they're just sparring, just like, oh, you're a great warrior, oh, you too. But I must ask you something. He apparently took on a curse when he was a young man. Now he's an old man. Took on a curse to save his village. Now he's not able to fight the curse anymore, and he knows it's about to come out, and it does, as a monster. So before he becomes a monster, he asks Wonder Woman, please kill me. I live for my village. I want to die now that I can't contain the curse anymore. Please vanquish me. Give me a warrior's death. And so she fights him as a monster, and her only way of stopping him, she's not able to find an alternative. The only way of stopping him from reaching the village is to slay the monster. Not a great story. That is a little bit less of a Wonder Woman ending. Not horribly offensive. Wait, hold on. What's Akuma Ranger saying about the Wonder Woman Superman relationship? I am like really curious. They merged the pre-52 and new 52 versions together after Superman Reborn event. Also, in the revised continuity, they never mentioned the relationship. Doesn't really matter about the relationship, but this is dependent on a couple things, and that obviously cannot just be the 52 Superman here from another dimension, because he would know to trust Wonder Woman, so it's whatever. But even that doesn't make a lot of sense, because God, fucking continuity. That doesn't make any sense, because if it's 52 Superman, they all met when they formed the Justice League for the first time. Anyway. Continuity. So then the final story is a kaiju is about to attack a city, and Wonder Woman shows up to fight it, and she fights it at first, but then realizes it can talk. She talks to it, realizes its origin, has to save it from the military, so she just like fucking plucks it up by the nose and carries it off to Dinosaur Island. And promises to come and play fetch with it every month. That's a cool Wonder Woman story. This is more or less what you call a throwaway annual. Does absolutely nothing to advance the ongoing story. Doesn't have anything to do with continuity, obviously. It just tries its best to tell some like fun little stories. This is the kind of thing that I would generally hand someone, honestly, because continuity doesn't matter. Like you can tell just in this opening page, this is the first time anyone's ever seen Wonder Woman. So continuity does not matter in this story. Like it takes place in continuity, but it doesn't matter. Everything else, continuity doesn't matter in this book. It's just really short one shots that kind of get a general sense of who this character is. I'm fine with that. So nothing's horrendously offensive. The Curse and the Honor. There's a more Wonder Woman ending to that story somewhere. I just don't know what it is. But I'm honestly fine with Wonder Woman killing when she needs to, and this tries its best to convince you it was a situation where not only she needed to, but that was the only way to do it. So, whatever. Nothing much to talk about is the thing. I enjoyed the Batman Superman dialogue in reaction to Wonder Woman and dealing with Wonder Woman that I really wanted just more of that. Speaking of the Trinity interacting, let's go ahead and move on to Trinity Annual #1. So a consistent thing I've been saying about Trinity lately is, okay, what the fuck happened to Ra's al Ghul and Cersei and Lex Luthor? Hey guys, I know what happened with Ra's al Ghul and Cersei and Lex Luthor. What are you doing? What is this book? Oh. We had Trinity #7 is when we introduced this storyline with Ra's al Ghul, Cersei, and Lex Luthor. Then we had an issue wrapping up Return of Superman, or whatever the hell that fucking book was. And then we had the beginning of a new story arc in Trinity with names Manipal, writing and drawing again. And now for the annual, we bring back the issue from 7. What is this book? Okay. So Cersei is convinced that the reason that they were all drawn here, Lex Luthor fucked off, by the way. Cersei is convinced that the reason her and Ra's and Lex were drawn here is because they are inverses of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And they therefore must, and Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman always survive and are drawn together because when the world ends, there will be 3 left standing, and they know they can fight to the end and be there for each other. Cool, fine, awesome. I have no idea what Batman is swinging from in this image because Wonder Woman and Superman are clearly flying. That's a cool two-page spread. Anyway, so Cersei's convinced that the way they need to work together to defeat the Trinity is that they must become similarly conjoined. But Lex Luthor's not here right now, so she's just got to convince Roz for the moment. And parallel that with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, or more properly, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, and Diana Prince, hanging out at a really expensive restaurant because they need to get to know each other better. Bruce says, I thought it might be a good idea if we spent a little time together out of costume to remind us of why we do what we do for a human connection. And so they're just, hanging out as friends. Thank you, DC. I needed that. Anyway, then we cut back to the caves where Jason Blood shows up because he feels the magical presence and wants to figure out what's going on. And he turns into the demon to fight the League of Assassins. And then when it comes time to confront Roz and Cersei, he ends up getting tossed magically into the Pandora pits, which separates Jason Blood from Etrigan. So Etrigan is free to go be an evil demon. And in doing so, he goes to wreak havoc on the world. And Jason, kind of instantly ages. So Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman go to fight and try to save the day. And there's a big fight with Etrigan and an army of demons he's got. And, Wonder Woman gets a cool superhero landing moment, and she gets to say, "Back, Beast, these people are protected by Princess Diana of Themyscira." And that's a cool panel. I like it. It's neat. Anyway, so Batman goes to try to solve the problem while Superman and Wonder Woman fight the threat. Batman finds Jason Blood and figures out that the solution is they have to be rejoined. And Blood says, I can't take him back. The spell necessary to rebond us, it would take a life force sacrifice so huge. And Wonder Woman comes on, Jason, this is Diana of Themyscira. I am speaking to you via Batman's comm device. A demon army has been unleashed today, and unless we stop them here, they will devour every single human on this planet, and Etrigan is leading them. If you require a life force sacrifice to end this hell and save innocent lives, take mine. Superman says, and mine. And Batman says, and mine. So they all agree to sacrifice themselves as part of the spell. And it works, but in the last moments as they would otherwise die because of their strong connection, because they know they will be there for each other, Cersei steps in and helps finish the spell with them being unaware so that they will not die, because the prophecy she, Roz, and Lex saw will enable them to kill. They have to be the ones to kill Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and in order to get the rewards, in order to kind of rule over the world. And so that moment convinces Roz that it is wise to work with Cersei. Meanwhile, the Pandora pits have changed location on the Earth on their own. And Cersei is reading the prophecy, and this is a weird reveal. Let me read the line leading up to this. Thankfully, I have their map, and what's mine is yours, Roz. After all, we are tied together. And you, do you see now? Do you believe? This is fated. It is written. A trinity of trinities. Bizarro, not a character I care for, but whatever. Makes sense. Artemis? Huh? Didn't realize she was still in continuity in any way, shape, or form, but okay. Red Hood? Are we actually making Jason a villain? Are we doing is that a thing that's happening? I don't feel like that's what's going to be happening because that just doesn't make like I'm cool with it. Yeah. Jason is a villain. Good. Thank you. Finally, someone gets it. Red Hood's not been written as a villain in Rebirth. He's very much been on the good guy's side. Even got to hang out with Bruce at Batburger or whatever. Even got protected by Bruce and put in cryo in the Fortress of Solitude. What? Just what is this? There's like, okay, you need an anti. All right, so you have Bizarro, obviously anti-Superman. You have Artemis, kind of an anti-Wonder Woman. Red Hood, when he was initially introduced, yes, certainly was. When he was initially reintroduced and under the Red Hood, certainly yes, Red Hood was very much an anti-Batman. And if this story had come out like a week after that story, I'd be totally down. This is a great reveal. The fuck is this going to even have to do with continuity at this point? Like, what is this? That's not his character anymore. I mean, I love Jason as a villain as much as the next guy that understands good storytelling. But that's not his character in DC right now. And Dr. Hologron points out the great thing. Owlman. Where the fuck's Batman's twin undead brother at right now? Not even like Owlman, but like fake ass Owlman from New 52. Where's he at? Whatever happened to Bruce Wayne's undead twin brother? There's just like there's just so much about this that doesn't make any sense. Oh, Lincoln March is dead? When did that happen? Oh, not twin brother, older brother. Sorry. I don't mean to step on the brilliant level of writing that was giving Bruce Wayne a long lost sibling. I don't read comics, just wiki articles. Yeah, read the comics. It's better. Okay, Lincoln March is dead. Good riddance. I'm pretty sure it didn't happen in the Bloom comics. It must have happened in Eternal. So yeah, just I don't know. I could name like 3 other guys though. Anyway, so that's just a really weird head scratchy reveal, and I mean, I'm excited to read Jason as a villain, but that is just continuity ass. That is just continuity is skewed beyond belief. That is a straight up, just blatant fuck continuity move right there, and I'm okay with that when it comes to Jason. So yeah, meh. Overall, this issue is just okay. I'm excited to read it continue in 6 months. Again, that's just bizarre to me. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the final issue of the week, which is DC Comics Bombshells number 27. It's not fair. Deep breath. It's not fair, but it might be okay. I think it's going to be okay, but I need details. And Marguerite Bennett isn't giving me enough details, and so I'm very worried. So, for those that don't know and don't understand my emotional outburst, Bombshells is ending. But not really. The book Bombshells, as it is currently being written, is going to be over very soon. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 issues left. But the story is continuing, they've said. I should pull up the statement, but the basic ins and outs of it are, okay, we are losing Bombshells like as the currently running book, but on some level the story is going to continue. Bennett's still going to be the one writing it. It's still moving forward. It's just getting revitalized or like picking up with new characters in a new way, in some way, shape, or form. We don't know what's happening just yet. I need to know more details, but to be really okay with it. But for right now, I'm hoping for the best. Red is encouraging me to sing Amazing Grace for an amazing book. Amazing bombshells, how sweet the story that saved all of DC. I once was lost reading the new 52, but now I found you. There. I hope you enjoyed that, people. So no, it's not over. That was like the best news, because I said again and again I was gonna fucking murder all of you if DC didn't, like, if DC canceled this book, and it appears that it's not being canceled. It's just being like continued in a different way. Connor asks, what's with DC canceling all their digital first comics after 30-ish issues? That's an interesting question, because I know with Bombshells that it's ending after 100 issues, because this, of course, is 30 issues, but each book has like 3 stories. So I don't know if that's the same thing that's going on with a lot of their other digital content, but yeah, this anyway, so I don't know if that might have something to do with it. Like, once it gets to 100 issues, it's just unsustainable as a digital thing. I don't know. Fuck, bye. But yeah, 30 issues in print, because this, like, each issue roughly collects like 3 stories most of the time. So in this, we're dealing with Raven, like, running away from Zatanna and Constantine with Harley and Ivy. Their flying manta ray gets shot down over Russia, and their flying manta ray gets shot down over Russia, and they come across Nazi scientists led by Captain Cold, who's a slave driver of the occult, a servant of the ring within the Reich, a servant of the Snow Witch. We get Raven's origin. Get Raven's origin in this. So, traditionally Raven's mom, like, was in a cult or something, and kind of got impregnated by accident. Uh, and this, and y'all love my singing, Raven's origin is Beauty and the Beast. Which admittedly is, I don't know, I kind of think it works now, because my big complaint with Raven had just been that she was colored, you know, with like normal skin tone, and like, you know, one of the consistent things about Raven just across all things is she's got like that grayish pale skin. And in this she doesn't. It's because her dad's not a demon, he's like a mythical beast from the mountains. So anyway, she tells that to Harley and Ivy, and then they come across Captain Cold and these occultist slave drivers that apparently go in these countries that they're taking over. They kidnap, or they hunt out and find the mythical occult like beasts in the country, and then enslave them and force them to, you know, do their bidding. And that includes Raven's father. So this is a very, you know, this is like a, I don't know, that's a pretty clever origin for Raven. You know, that's not very traditional. It is extremely different for her. So she's like half mythical beast of some sort. I guess he's supposed to be like a satyr. They call him a mountain spirit. Let's see here. What is the specific term she uses? And when a percheta, Perchta, a beastly mountain spirit by the name of Das Trigon. Das Trigon. Let's see. I'm gonna look that up because I'm legitimately curious what because Bennett, to her credit, does a lot of research on this stuff to get some of the occult things. What's going on? All right. Perchta. What's a perchata? Perchata, Wikipedia. It's mainly used for like a goddess, but there's other stuff. Yeah, so it's like an actual mythical beast. That, well, not an actual mythical beast. You know what I mean? It is a real thing that people believed in. So that's, I don't know, it's just cool origin for Raven. Different, and that's kind of what I've come to expect from a lot of Bombshells, is just unique or different takes. Not everything's one-to-one, and everything is so different that it really works because of that. But yeah, her father is a slave of the Reich, so that's, you know, it's an interesting choice, just like she was. I'm going to touch the cliffhanger because that just requires so much exposition I don't care to give. And then the final thing of this is, last issue we ended with Supergirl on a train that was exploding, and Lex Luthor gave her a method by which to kill herself. A kryptonite sword, or a kryptonite dagger, basically. So in this, she's able to save the train using her superpowers, which is impressive and cool. She like caused an avalanche and you know, was able to mitigate it in some ways with her heat vision and direct it where it needs to go and save the train and all that stuff. So that was cool. But Lex kind of leaves her and Steve Trevor and kind of like an agent himself, you know, takes out not the Nazi and Soviet spies and yada yada. And so Supergirl's kind of left alone in the mountains, fading out of consciousness, and she thinks Courtney, Steve, Mama, and kind of leaves on that cliffhanger. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. It's not like it's strongest issue or anything, but we're wrapping up. We're reaching conclusions here. Just interesting little stuff. Lex Luthor leaves the dagger with her, and his purposes are vague. Yeah, Red Stargirl or was rather Supergirl's sister in this continuity. Just really neat. And it's Courtney, the K. Oh yeah, Red. You need to get this. Stargirl's in it. There. Now you're gonna read Bombshells. After all the raving about Bombshells I've been doing, it takes just mentioning that Stargirl was in it to get you to do it? Come the fuck on, Red. What are you doing? Do you not trust me? What? Why didn't anyone tell me that like Stargirl had this like instant love from people that I could just say, oh hey, Stargirl's in it, and they go, oh, I need to go buy that. Fuck people. I've been sitting here raving. This is one of the best books consistently. This is a great, great book. Why wouldn't you just listen to me? You're awful. You're awful comic reviews watchers. All of you, collectively, in your own special way. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to trade talk. Again, it's been a while. I've been busy. I've been so busy. Oh, you want a figure of the Bombshells character? Because I know they're releasing, they obviously have the statues, but I know they're releasing action figures. One moment. All right, now I already shut it off on camera. If you want to see my Kate Kane Bombshells action figure, go watch the comic reviews from Free Comic Book Day. But anyway, back to trade talk. Star Wars Volume 4, Last Flight of the Harbinger. So I've been reading Aaron's run in trade, and it works a lot better there. Let me say, this first story that's like a Diary of Obi-Wan involves Black Chrysanthemum, the Wookiee bounty hunter. Meh. Overall, I've been pretty happy. Overall, I've been pretty happy with the stories they tell with Obi-Wan, but this one just, it was just so nothing. Like, it's just, oh, I tried to protect Uncle Owen once, and I almost failed, but Luke came in and saved the day. Cool. Anyway, and then we get into the actual story, which is the Empire has an elite group of stormtroopers led by the Game Master from Volume 2, Showdown on Smuggler's Moon. The Game Master makes a return. He joined the Empire as a stormtrooper because he believes in its cause and the fact that it liberated him from a slave camp and yada yada. Stupid, but whatever. Like, he's stupid for thinking that, because obviously the Empire is awful too. He's just like, oh, well, they don't subjugate people. Fuck, they don't. Shit. You just haven't seen enough of the Empire yet, motherfucker. Damn. So anyway, and then like it gets in the actual story, which is the rebels are attacking a Star Destroyer and are able to board it, get the Imperial staff off, make it look like it went up in a ball of flames, when really they ejected the core and went to warp, or went into hyperspace. But they do have a functioning Star Destroyer, and their plan is to use it to get through a blockade. But it is in massive need of repairs after their attack on it. So there's a lot of flirting between Han and Leia going on in this, because they're both vying for command. And there's just a lot of hell going on with the ship. And meanwhile, this elite group of stormtroopers is able to board the Star Destroyer and cause all kinds of ruckus for them. And so, in the end, they've been slowly creeping toward their mission, and they're able to get there as things are going just about as wrong as they could be going. And it's under attack, and Luke and the Game Master are fighting each other, and there's just all kinds of action and cool stuff going on here. But it comes under attack, and they're using it to try to get through the blockade, and blah blah. Vader's there, blah blah blah. A lot of stuff going on. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Luke is able to use the Force to win the lightsaber duel that he was otherwise losing. That's kind of interesting. Luke also slips through Vader's fingers again. And the mission is a success. The rebels get away. All except for C-3PO, who was captured by the stormtroopers. There's something about this where I've been reading this in trade, and it's pretty good in trade. It has its moments in trade. It has a lot of stuff I like about it, but there's just such a fan fiction-y feel to this. There's such a lack of stakes because they keep putting the main, the core group of the original Star Wars movies in all kinds of peril, but it's still before Empire Strikes Back. 2 years on. No, not even 2 years, 3 years on, right? If Guillem takes over Star Wars, I'll probably pick up the book. But we're so far into at this point, and still it just feels like, okay, it's just a big epic story. These were the missions they went on. These were the missions they went on, and yada yada. And like, it reads a little bit better, just in general when you're reading it in trade, but it still does just have this feeling of like, okay, it's an adventure that they don't talk about in the movies. It has no effect on the movies. Like, why should I care? I just have no ability to care a lot about what's going on. I mean, it's not bad. It's well written. It's functionally serviceable. And it's just not enhancing the story or really informing anything. So this just, I don't know, it's like a useless story in a lot of ways. If you really, really love Star Wars and you really, really need to see more stuff with Luke and all and the team, that's good. It just doesn't have much of a stake. Like, I enjoy reading it to one degree or another, but on so many levels I just feel like, okay, whatever. It's one of those things where I'm enjoying it, when I just sit down and read it. I'm not enjoying talking about it and trying to like critically dissect it and think about it. And that's usually a sign that things are, generally speaking, kind of weak. And it's not like it's weak on a technical side of things, like the craft of how it is written, how it is drawn, all of that is fine. And the art's probably one of the best things about this book. You just get some really cool and interesting visuals. Like I talked about the Obi-Wan story and how I didn't think it was just in the slightest bit necessary. But you know what? There's this cool scene of Luke saving the day, man, and him smiling and flying around in the ship with Uncle Owen. That's good art. There's these cool moments that you just get to see, like this opening prologue issue with the Stormtrooper squadron taking out a tank, and like it ends with the one guy jumping up and pulling out the lightsaber and, you know, cutting the cannon off the thing. That's cool. It's a cool visual, undeniably. That's a poster. But it's just, yeah, I feel no investment in any of this. That's the problem. I have such little interest in the majority of it. Also, I feel like the one thing that technically is weird is making the game master the villain Stormtrooper, because his motivation really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. His whole thing was he was raised in fighting pits to be a gladiator and yada yada, and he'd seen so much death and blah blah blah. And the Empire came and liberated him, so he's very, very sympathetic to the Empire. Okay, fine. Let's just pretend that as a Stormtrooper, he doesn't see literally the worst things the Empire does. He talks about it like he was liberated forever ago and now has, you know, a lot of pride in the Empire. And that could maybe work if this was set between, you know, Empire and Jedi. But it's set between New Hope and Empire, just like his last story where he first appeared was. I don't know. I'm just kind of perpetually like, this book doesn't really have a lot going on, does it? And so that's kind of my conclusion is, this book doesn't really have a lot going on, does it? It's kind of, I will say it's better than like the Poe Dameron book and Shattered Empire, because like at least here they're allowed to do stuff. They're allowed to actively tell a story. But I think I got spoiled by Gillen's Vader. It just was such a better thing that really actually took the character places and informed things about the world. See, Ian gets it. Sympathetic stormtroopers are so dumb. Yes, sure. Anyway. Yeah, sorry to have trade talk be so. It's okay. It's whatever. I just don't have a ton to say about it, but I do want to keep reading it. So I'm at this weird place. I'm like, I'm just like cool Star Wars book. That's fine, but on a like a, what is this saying? What does this mean? What is this? There's not enough there to talk about. So yeah. Anyway. Red's talking about Rey, who's I think a character from like Star Wars Aftermath or something like that. Anyway. RAE, not RUY. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. So, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope I didn't piss anyone off too much talking about Sam Wilson, Captain America, or the dumbass exploits of Teenage Ian. Anyway, till next time.